Hey everybody, Tim Veigle here with Watson Realty, and this video is going to explain to you the listing agreement and some of the other accompanying documents that if you're going to be selling your home, these are the documents you're going to see and this is what it means. Now, any questions that arise, feel free to reach out to me. I have no problem answering them, and there'll probably be questions. This is just to give you a basis point of what you're agreeing to whenever you are selling your home and agreeing to a listing agreement. So feel free to ask at any time. So let me share my screen here for you. All right, let me see if I can make this a little bit larger for y'all. So this is the first off the main document. This is the exclusive right to sell. At the very top, you have your name, and then your agreement is with Watson Realty. It's not specifically with me, but with Watson Realty. Now, under here, this is where it lists the dates of when you're going to sell. Most agreements are 6 months. So whatever date we're agreeing to list your home and turn it active will be here. And then 6 months from there will be there. And that's the termination date. Sometimes there could be less, sometimes there could be longer. It all depends. We'll put on here the street address and legal description of your property of what's going up for sale. And then any personal property included. So if you're including the washer, the dryer, any appliances, things that you are planning to leave, we would be putting that on there. Is this property currently tenant occupied? So if it is tenant occupied, we put on there that it's occupied and when their lease term expires. Now right here under part 3, this is just the price and terms. So we'll put the price that we agree to. So, I'm going to provide you with comps of where I think we should list it. You're going to tell me what you'd like to list it at, and then we'll discuss it and come out to what price point is comfortable for you based off of the strategies that we've encountered. What financing terms you're going to take. So cash, conventional, VA, FHA are the normal ones that most do. Depending on your price point, sometimes some of these others will not qualify. And of course, if there's anything else that you want to take, we'd also put on there if you're willing to do seller financing, which we can discuss further if that is an option you're interested in. Of course, if you're assuming if there's any assumptions of the existing mortgage we put on here, most do not do that. And of course, seller expenses, are there any closing costs, percentages that you're willing to do. Typically, for most of my sellers, we don't put that on there. Reason why we don't put that on there is because we're going to get offers of people negotiating anyway. So we don't want to offer if we don't have to. Part 4 is just outlining the broker obligation. So broker agrees to make diligent and continued efforts to sell the property in accordance with the agreement until the sales contract is pending on the property. So we're going to do what we can to sell the property. Then it breaks down what the multiple listing service is. So that we're going to be placing this property in the multiple listing service. It's beneficial to the seller because this is what's going to get you all the exposure to help get this property sold. As an MLS participant, broker is obligated to enter the property into the MLS within 1 business day of marketing the property. So whenever we market the property, like I start posting stuff online and things like that, has to go in the MLS within 24 hours. That is the rule. Now, broker authority. So we're going to go over broker authority, and this is basically what you are allowing us to do and what our agreements are. So we're going to public marketing includes, but is not limited to, flyers, yard signs, digital marketing, public facing websites, brokerage websites. Pretty much we're going to do everything we can to get the exposure out on your property. Public marketing also includes marketing the property to real estate agents outside a broker's office. So we will be doing that as well. Place appropriate transaction signs on the property, unless for some reason we decide not to, for whatever it's this reason, which sometimes it could be you don't want to sign in your yard. Other times we could not be doing it because the HOA might not allow it. Use seller's name in connection with marketing or advertising the property. Display the property on the internet except the street address. So we could check that if you do not want to put the street address on there. Now, granted, it's beneficial to put the street address because people are going to be searching to make sure that property does work for you. Not public market to the public and seller opt out. So these are things you can opt out on. Seller does not authorize broker to display the property on MLS. So if you don't want to display it on there, you can, but you're missing out on a big avenue of exposure if you do that. Seller understands and acknowledges that if the seller checks option 6BI, a for sale sign will not be placed upon the property. So if you don't want it, you have that option. Seller understands and acknowledges that seller options 6BI, broker will be limited to marketing the property only to agents within broker's office. So also things that you need to be aware of and things I would not recommend, because the goal is to get you top dollar. And the only way that we can do that is by marketing it to everyone. So we're going to obtain information relating to the present mortgage on the property, provide objective comparative market analysis of information to potential buyers. So if a buyer is asking me for a CMA on the property, we're going to go over it with them. I can't just say, oh yeah, and we're going to add 100,000 for this. It has to be objective. We're going to use a lockbox to show access to the property. Now the lockbox that I do is electronic, which is good because it means only realtors can get in, and I have a time code of everyone that gets into the property. A lockbox does not ensure the property security though. Seller is advised to secure and remove valuables, so make sure you do remove them from the property or anything that you do not want lost or picked up on accident. And a lot of times, I mean, for most cases, buyers, when they go in there, that's not their objective, but their kids don't know any better sometimes. So you don't want to put stuff out there. Seller's benefit and releases broker persons working with broker or broker's local realtor board association forum, liability and responsibility in connection with any damage or loss that occurs. So it's kind of like covering us in case something does happen. People do go into the house, but it does protect us from that liability. Now on the other side, as long as I've been listing houses, I haven't had a major issue happen because we've taken precautions ahead of time and we've been proactive. We're going to act as a transaction broker. So basically what the transaction broker is I'm going to give you advice, but at the same time, I'm here to make sure the transaction gets completed. So there's certain things that you can tell me that I have to share with the seller, and there's certain, or buyer, there's certain things that you as the seller has to tell me I don't have to share. For example, if you tell me that you know that the property has termites, I have to share that. If you tell me that the lowest you're willing to go on a property that we list at 150 is 125, I do not have to share that. So just to give you an idea of what the difference is, anything that's material to the property has to be shared. Anything that is personal or can cause damages to you does not have to be shared. Let's go down to seller obligations. So seller obligations cooperate with broker in carrying out the purpose of the agreement. So including referring immediately to broker all inquiries regarding property transfer. So you're going to also potentially receive people driving by, asking questions. So refer them to me. That way we can try to keep the communication concise for you. Make sure that everyone's getting the same information. Recognize broker may be subject to additional MLS obligations and potential penalties for failure to comply with them. So there's certain things that we're going to be needing from you that we have to do so that we do not fall out of compliance. Provide broker with keys to the property. So we need a key to put in the lockbox. Make sure you provide that. Definitely inform us if you decide you're leasing it, mortgaging, or other things that could be encumbering on the property. Indemnify broker and hold broker harmless from losses, damages, costs, expense of any nature, including attorney fees and forum, liability to any person that broker incurs because one, seller's negligence, representation, misrepresentation, actions or inactions, the use of a lockbox, the existence of undisclosed material facts about the property, or a court arbitration decision that a broker who was not compensated in connection with the transaction is entitled to compensation from broker. This clause will survive broker's performance and the transfer of title. So that's just kind of like a protection part in there, because there's obviously any time you list a house, there is some risks. Perform any act reasonably necessary to comply with FIRPTA, which is foreign investment real estate property tax acquisition, which hopefully we won't have to do, but sometimes you do, and make all legally required disclosures. So if you know anything, tell us. Where a seller gets in trouble is when you do not disclose information that you know. Where a seller gets in trouble is where they disclose information they think is correct and they're wrong. So it's very important to be careful with that. And of course, consult with appropriate professionals for legal, tax advice, anything like that. We're going to see stuff, we're going to make recommendations and suggestions. But if I'm not a CPA, check with your CPA to make sure that it does work for you, because some of the stuff we see is things that could happen, but it might not fit your exact situation. Now, compensation, this is where you put the compensation, which is typically about 6%. So 6% across the board on there. Broker fees could still be followed on here and including right here in this section. That will be the termination date. So like say, for example, if this agreement is terminated, I usually put 180 days there. What that means is when the agreement is terminated, if you sell the house on your own for within the next 180 days, you still owe me my fee. Now, to get around that, if you were to sign up with another real estate company and move on to a new realtor, this is null and void and does not matter. But some cases you'll have people, especially in this market, tell you, hey, drop your realtor, sell it to me, we'll get it taken care of and we'll cut him out. And that's where that 180 days is there to protect the agents from people that are trying to do stuff like that. Retained deposit. So if you end up taking the escrow, there could be a percentage here of what would come back to the brokerage. The reason for that is because there's certain fees and work that the brokerage has done for this transaction. And because the other party didn't perform and you get the escrow, then the brokerage would get a piece of that too to cover some of our incurred costs. Part 9, this is just the incorporating or cooperating broker. So 6% is commission, 3% to the listing agent, 3% to the buyer's agent. And that's all that is if the other agent brings the buyer, then they're going to get part of what the real estate commission is up here, the compensation, which varies and is always negotiable too. Again, this is just restating our relationship that we're acting as a transaction broker, and then kind of breaks down the definition of a transaction broker. Conditional termination. So say we're terminating the agreement. This part will have a cancellation fee, because if you're terminating it prematurely before the end of the listing agreement, this is a fee to help us cover some of our costs, and also breaks down paying for some of our marketing costs and fees in there of costs that we incurred that now we're not going to be able to get back. Now, this is just breaking down the dispute resolution, which if there is a dispute between us, that we would go to arbitration to settle it. I would. My goal is to never have a dispute and to really work it out amicably with my sellers. The miscellaneous, this agreement is binding on the seller and broker's heirs, personal representation, administrators, successors, and assignees. Brokers may assign this agreement to another listing office. So basically, this agreement lives for the life of the agreement. And of course, if there's any additional terms that we're putting in here. That is the listing agreement. Now, there's a couple documents that you might encounter. Let me share those. So this right here, point blank, I need to photograph your property to be able to market it. And that's all this is the waiver allowing me to take photos of your property so that I can use it for my marketing. Now, this is an important one. This is your property disclosure. If you need help filling this out, feel free to talk to your agent. But simply yes, no, don't know. If it's a yes, put a yes. If it's a no, put a no. If you're not sure, put don't know. There's nothing wrong with putting don't know if you don't know. And in some cases, there's certain things on here that you're not going to know. This is important for you to have to disclose any information to the potential buyer so that they're aware of it. So you want to be as open and honest as possible. This is also going to protect you from any future lawsuits, because someone sues you saying you knew about something and you have a signed seller's disclosure stating that you disclosed it to them. That proves that yes, you knew about it, but it also proves that you disclosed it to the buyer and they should know about it too. So that's going to protect you. So it's very important to do this. And it covers everything. And some of the stuff will not fall for you. Others will. So it talks about the structures and the appliances. It talks about termites or any other wood destroying organism pests that you're aware of. Water intrusion is on here if you have any flood issues. Talks about the plumbing. So, and also asks if you have polybutylene pipes. So, which if you're not sure, it's better to put don't know than yes or no. If you put yes, it does help out in the negotiation process when poly pipes show up on the inspection report and the agents try to negotiate down because of poly pipes. And it's like, you didn't need an inspection report to tell you that, we told you. Talk about the roof and the age of the roof. Pools, hot tubs, and spas, of any issues you might have with that. Sinkholes that you might be aware of. Goes into a little bit of stuff with the homeowners association. Some of the stuff with environmental issues, any government's claims or litigations that might be going on. Foreign investment stuff as you sign. So very important to disclose anything you know. And some of these questions you're not going to know the answer to. But again, ask your realtor, we can explain it to you. Just answer it open and honestly. Now let's move on. This one right here, this is just, your realtor might have you sign this so that we could do some work on the property and excluding it from MLS until it's ready to list. So this is important to get the property ready and get it prepared and gives us a little bit of leeway with talking to other people for the property before it gets listed in the MLS. And also disclosing to you the situation that your property isn't in the MLS yet. Now this one is a pretty long one and I'm going to go through really quick, but this is just the data entry sheet. So your realtor is going to fill this out to the best of their ability, and then you'll get to see it too, so that you'll know what's going in the MLS. It's very long, it's 13 pages. It covers everything. And if there's anything that we didn't get right, feel free to correct us, because whatever's in here, this is what we use to go into the MLS. So, and it's very important to get that correct. But that's pretty much most of the documents that you're going to see whenever you're doing a listing agreement. I hope this helped. And again, if you're my seller, let me know what questions you have. I have no problem walking through it. And I hope this video helped. You guys have a good day.